to this computer and see. So this is about EC2 instances. We'll take a comprehensive view of everything, and we'll see how we can do a hands-on provision them. All right. By the way, I expect you guys to be practicing everything we've been doing, because you can't be really good with just a theoretical understanding of the Amazon Web Services. You need to know every services and how to provision them, because this is how you have to prove capacity when you are being engaged by an employer or maybe a customer somewhere. So what is the EBS, the Amazon Elastic Block Storage? We're talking about storage. Storage is one of the things that Amazon guarantees the world, in a way that it wants to take the burden of on-premise storage to the cloud, where which everything would be, seamless, things will scale up, and at the end of the day, the total cost of ownership would be less. So this is actually, the EBS is a cloud-based block storage services. And like we know, is owned by Amazon. Now, this block storage provides persistent block level storage, okay, where which we can attach these files, this block storage is to the instances. Okay, we can attach it to the instances directly. The instances are the servers which we talked about. And with it, which will be able to scale up and have high level of durability. So that is about that. And with it, you can have a persistent storage. Now, this persistent storage at the level that you are, we would say is not persistent, okay? At the level of the CCP, the Certified Cloud Practitioner, you may say it's not persistent because we would say it's ephemeral. That is to say, when you terminate the instance, they get terminated. But as you scale up to a level, Amazon would be willing to still keep your block storages even if your instance is being terminated. That's why it's persistent. So by creating some backups and enabling you to move volumes between instances and keep your data safe. This is one of the things they are promising. And this EBS is quite flexible, where you can optimize the volume, looking at the case in hand. We have different functionality. It may be the general purpose SD, which is the GP2. If that is the general, the least expensive one. And at this level, all of the files we'll be creating will be at this level. And we'll try as much as possible to keep our cost low at this level. So we have the provision IOPS, SSD, IO1. We have the throughput optimized HDD. We'll talk about them in detail. And all this has to do with their own different performance characteristics and their varying level of cost. Always you have to tailor what you need to suit how much you're willing to spend. EBS, the Amazon Elastic Block Storage are elastic. They have a high elasticity. You can easily increase them or decrease them without encountering a downtime. Yeah. This can be said to be scalability. In a place where a higher capacity of EBS is required, automatically, if it is being provisioned to behave that way, it will spin up and increase the capacity. And there is another feature that we call the snapshot. What is the snapshot? The snapshot is the ability for you to have a backup in time and have it saved in another AZ, another availability zone. And this offers a kind of minimal cost when you're doing backup. So should in case anything happens, because at this level, it says ephemeral, right? If anything happens to your instances and your EBS is being terminated, if you have it been backed up somewhere, you know you have a backup. We'll take a look at that when we started provisioning. We will provision it to create a snapshot of our volume and use our volume, EBS volume, the snapshot to create a new volume and see how it works. What about the encryption? Encryption is a security feature. Yeah, a huge security feature that enables us to change or to code our files at rest, to code our data at rest, where which if peradventure there is a DDoS attack, it will mean nothing to the intruder. And the high availability, we can replicate the EBS volume automatically and ensures that we have high availability across different territories. Okay, another one is the EFS, Elastic File Storage System, rather. Let's all did that together. Elastic File System is still cloud-based, it's scalable. When we say scalable, it has the ability to change its capacity. Yeah. And you can share access between two instances or multiple instances. But the EBS, which we talked about, is not like that. They are tied to the same availability zone, at the same time tied to specific instances. But the EFS is a little bit more, where which different or multiple Elastic Compute Cloud instances can share the same Elastic file system. Yeah. And it can be provisioned at the virtual private cloud level, moving down to the subnet and having the security groups being configured. It has a high performance where which it creates a low latency. So for your application that would require fast and consistent access to data, this can guarantee you that. The EFS can be your best option. Yeah. Let's get this out. All right. So we talked about its elasticity. It has a life cycle management. You know, we talked about life cycle at the S3 level, where which files can be saved up to a particular level, and then you now retire it because of cutting down cost. Yeah. And files can be made to be highly secured. Remember, we already have the security group seated on it, and we can encrypt the files at rest and also in transit. And then we can control access also. So these are things we can do with these two. We have many others to talk about, but because of time's sake, because I want us to look at, we have the FSX, but because of time's sake, let's keep it at this level and go right in to see how we can provision the EBS and have them create a snapshot and see how we can talk about how to encrypt the data. Okay. Let's move into our system. Always you get into the search pane. If peradventure what you're looking for is not showing, you get into what you should get. So let's first of all get to EC2. All right. The Elastic Compute Cloud. So you get to EC2. This is the EC2 dashboard. Now we're going to scroll down to volume and click volume. Okay, you can see I have some that I've created, but let's ignore them and go right away, create provisioning new ones. Something is blocking my pin. Let me take it off. So you go to create volume. Now, there's something you could have done, assuming before this phase, your EC2s, your instances could have been created. But remember, we are not yet there. So we just have to keep things simple, ensuring that we are creating it. When we get to that level of creating the EC2s, we may just attach it and allow it to fly. So now you enter the create volume. Like I told us, the general purpose SSD, we have lots of the volume types. The higher you go, the more expensive it will be. We're trying to keep our cost minimal. So this file system that we are creating, the general purpose is okay for us. And what will be the size? I would like to take 2 gigabytes should be enough for what we are doing. Now, the availability zone, under availability zone, you may want to choose any one that pleases you, the availability zone that you already have your instance, because the EBS is tied to specific AZ, like we said. So let's just assume that our instance is in this zone. So we pick the US East 1A. Then are we creating a snapshot, or we have snapshot created? Are we encrypting? We say no. All right. We'll go down and keep everything simple. Then we say create volume. Yeah. That's what we have done. We've created volume, which is the third volume, which is this one. Let's go back to rename it very well. Let's say Tmex. All right, let me take a lowercase. Tmex EBS. Save. So it's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. But now we talked about the snapshot. How do we now create the snapshot? We always would want to highlight the so we can view. Let's refresh. Highlight a specific EBS. Let's go with this one, which we already have. So having done that, you may want to come here, or you right click, create snapshot. And remember, the snapshot is a backup in time. And now you are assuming that you already have these files and folders in it. So you go to say create snapshot. What description should we give this? Let's say CMX demo snapshot. Next demo snapshot. All right. So we create so for us to view that, we have to go to snapshot to view what we have done. And remember, this snapshot was created through the EBS, which we add. And that is to say that the snapshot is for this particular Elastic Block Store. So let's see, get into snapshot. We'll see that this is the one we've just created. Let's rename it so we can actually recognize it each day, each time. Let me pick this description and use it as a naming convention. Okay, it's not copying. Let's just call it TMX. Demo snapshot. Yeah. Okay, let's move on with this. Let's enter this snapshot and see. Right, this is what we have here. These are the credentials for it. These are the credentials for it. Let's go back in here. So through this, we have to create another EBS. So we can place that EBS in a different availability zone. We create our EBS in a different, so this is create volume. We're going back to action, create volume from snapshot. So we'll leave everything the same, but we'll change the availability zone. Remember, we are creating a backup. So it has to be in a different AZ, different availability zone. If peradventure anything happens in US East 1A, we would have everything replicated into the EBS in US East 1B. So this is just the knowledge behind it. So you go down, and then I'm leaving all the encryption pending until we want to talk about it. So let's say we will create tag, and what would our tag be? Let's say restore EBS. Okay, so congratulations. You have successfully created a snapshot and have moved it into an EBS in another AZ. That's what we have done. So you will see that if peradventure one is failing, another one would pick up. So how do we encrypt? The encryption is very simple. We have different ways we can encrypt our data. First of all, let's go into the snapshot, which we already have. Let's pick this. Hold on. We would ensure that everything is right. So let's create a volume through this snapshot. This is a new volume created. Now we go down, leave everything, and then we tick the encrypt this volume. We can pick the default KMS key. So they would give us a default key. You can see all the credentials. Amazon has given us a default key that will protect our EBS volume. Then we move down to say we create, of the default is right. Let's say create volume. So that is done. That is done. So for this particular EBS created, volume created, any file that comes in would be encrypted. We'll take things slowly. I'm trying to ensure that we never incur cost, because everything you touch in this console is dollars, 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 dollars. And dollars is quite different from Ghanaian cedis. It's different from Nigerian naira. So you have to be careful. So this is about EBS encryption, backups, snapshots, and the creation of EBS. Yeah. So much we can do with it. We'll get to see in the future, when we've started creating CloudFront, if we can create at the same time, attach it to the same VPC, attach it to the required subnet, move down to the EC2, the security group level, and then we provision it. So now what is next is for us to go into EFS. We said the EFS is more flexible, right? So like as we introduced it. So always we would have to go to our console, let's say EFS, and see what would come out. All right, it's showing here. Let's click it. Now you move to create file. And we may place a name. It's optional, but let's give it a name. All right, the next EFS. But adventure, we want to attach this EFS to a specific VPC. We go in here, it's already attached to the default VPC. But I want us to ignore that. And sorry, my stuff has gone off. We have to go back. Create file. 15x. All right, take it to show me here. We now go to customize. Instead of using what Amazon is presenting, we create what we would want for ourselves. And this is called tailoring. Okay. So the name is already showing there. And now we have different storage classes. Different storage classes in EFS. We have the standard. The standard is showing that it's stored. We can store data redundantly across multiple AZ. Can you see how this is different from the EBS? Or we say, if we want it to be in one AZ, which is dangerous, we can do that and specify the AZ that we want it to be. So, having said that, we come down and keeping everything the way it should be. Okay, let's leave this guy here and go down. But we have to enable automatic backup. Coming down to the life cycle, what should we do? We will keep it, let's say instead of 30 days, let's say since last access 60 days. Okay. Let's leave this as none. Now we enable encryption. Encryption is enabled. We go down to performance. Performance, we have two. We have the bursting and we have the enhanced. And what is the enhanced saying? It said provides more flexible and higher throughput level for workloads with a range of performance requirements. Bursting provides the throughput that scales with the amount of storage for workloads with basic performance requirements. So I think for us to scale, we pick this guy, bursting, and as we have taken the encryption, we may want to do additional settings if it pleases us. Pick the general purpose if that's what we want to do. And then we say next. And next now, it's quite precise. It's asking us what is Z? Okay, let's say we want it to be in US East 1B. The subnet ID, did we clear our subnet? I don't think so. Let's check us. Let's go to another window and go to our VPC dashboard and see if we have some subnet. So we copy them out. You can see under virtual private cloud, you can see subnet here. You click it. Tara, you just wait a little. Okay. We can copy the public subnet A ID. Copy it here. Sorry, let's enter it to copy it. Look at it showing here. You copy the ID, you move back in here. If that's what, but it's supposed to be showing here, but it's not showing. Why? I think we are having issues with the availability zone. Maybe this availability zone peaked. A
Can I take the
subnet,
VPC?
a subnet is not in the, except I take my own VPC, Tmex VPC, and have everything changed. But I'm being careful, okay? IDs are showing here. This is subnet, public subnet is already ticked. If we want to change it, we change it. Then the IP, we'll leave it at automatic. We have some security groups created. Okay, we will take what I have created, the Tmex security group, which we did. In all this, we have done them in the past. So we get in, and if we still need more, we go in. All right, let's see which subnet is attached here. Public B is already attached here. And we may want to maintain the same security group. Maintain the same security. If you need more, you add. And then the next thing is for you to say next. Now in next here, you leave everything the way they are. I don't want to edit anything because we're trying to keep things simple. We may re-edit the policies if it pleases us, but let's leave it the way it is. And say next. Now, this is a preview of what we have just done. If anything is wrong, you go by editing it and put it the way it should. And you get down the file system policy. If you want to check, you now create. Okay, at this point, I would say we would, instead of creating, let's just assume we have created to avoid costs. All right, to avoid costs. So this is pretty simple. And these are the things that we would have to do. So in our next class, we will take a look at CloudFront. Let's go back to our training schedule to see what we should be talking about. Okay. All right. This is our training schedule. And we are in week 5. We will talk about FSX for Windows, for Lustra, and then there are 2 other we may talk about. Then we'll go to the Snowball family. We'll talk about storage gateways, how to provision them. We provision them. We talked about CloudFront. You know, about 3 weeks ago, we were celebrating Amazon coming to, position a cloud, an edge location in Lagos. And we were so happy about it. So we'll see how we would be able to use this CloudFront for caching purposes to create, to access our files, with a high speed and to reduce latencies. So these are further things we'll be talking about in this week. So for today, I would say congratulations to you. Before we start interacting, let's go and we'll stop the sharing and we will stop the recording. Then we will take contributions from family and friends. All right, family and friends are already in the house.